The cursor hovered over the delete button. Emma stared at the waveform on her screen. 32 minutes of audio from their latest episode. Jordan's voice, captured mid-laugh. My biggest deal breaker? Someone who can't be spontaneous. She'd paused the playback there, had been paused there for 10 minutes. 6 years of friendship scrolled to her mind like footage she'd edited 1,000 times. Every spontaneous road trip, every midnight coffee run, every time her carefully organized plans fell apart and Jordan turned the chaos into something better. Her eyes drifted to the document open on her second monitor. Why I'm Still Single, a comprehensive list, 43 reasons. She'd been updating it for 2 years, reading excerpts on the podcast like comedy material. Reason 12, I need someone who respects schedules. Jordan was late to every recording session. Reason 18, physical touch should be meaningful, not casual. Jordan hugged like breathing. Reason 31, I can't date someone who makes me laugh when I'm trying to be serious. Her finger moved away from delete, back to the mouse. The studio was empty. Jordan had left an hour ago. She could edit this out. Pretend she hadn't heard it. Pretend she hadn't been building a list of deal breakers that described her best friend like a police sketch she'd been drawing in reverse. Outside, the first rain of October tapped against the window. She clicked play. Emma remembered the exact moment Jordan suggested the podcast. 3 months ago. His garage turned studio, surrounded by half-finished design projects and coffee-stained sketches. She'd been complaining about her sister Sophie's engagement, the pressure of being 28 and perpetually single at family dinners. Jordan had laughed, spinning in his desk chair. You should monetize your cynicism. Excuse me? I'm serious. You've got a theory for everything that's wrong with modern dating. Make it a podcast. She'd rolled her eyes. But 2 weeks later, they'd recorded the first episode. Now the studio felt different in the empty afternoon light. Dust particles drifted through the window, catching gold. Emma sat at the editing desk, headphones on, listening to their voices like they belonged to strangers. Jordan's laugh came through clear. That surprised laugh he did when he forgot to perform. She'd captured it at the 23-minute mark, right after she'd made a joke about emotional availability. She scrolled back, found the part she'd been avoiding. My biggest deal breaker? Jordan's voice, thoughtful in a way he rarely was on mic. Someone who can't be spontaneous. Someone who needs everything planned. Life's too short to schedule joy. Emma pressed pause. Her phone sat face down on the desk. 53 unread messages in the podcast Discord. Fans dissecting every moment, every laugh, every time their voices overlapped. Last week, someone had made a compilation video titled, Emma and Jordan being married for 47 minutes straight. It had 60,000 views. She'd watched it twice. The rain started, soft at first, the kind of October rain that sounded like static, like the hiss between their audio tracks when neither of them was speaking. Emma opened her notes app, scrolled to the document she'd been updating since her breakup with David 2 years ago. Why I'm Still Single, a comprehensive list. She read through it, really read it, for the first time in months. Reason 7, I need someone who shows up on time. Jordan was late to every single recording. She'd stopped being annoyed by it around month 2, started expecting it, started leaving 15 minutes of buffer time in her calendar without telling him. Reason 12, I can't be with someone who doesn't take things seriously. Last week, Jordan had turned their sponsor read into an improvised song. Their engagement rate went up 40%. Reason 26, physical touch needs to be intentional, not constant. Jordan touched like punctuation, a hand on her shoulder when she was spiraling, an elbow nudge when she made him laugh, a hug before every recording that lasted exactly 4 seconds and felt like the most honest thing in her week. She counted them. 31 of her 43 deal breakers described Jordan. Emma closed the laptop. The studio settled into blue dusk around her. Outside, the rain picked up its rhythm, against glass and metal roof. The sound engineers called it room tone, the ambient noise that made a space feel real. She thought about Jordan, probably home by now, probably sketching something while pretending to watch TV. He did that, drew without thinking. Last week she'd caught him doodling during their recording break. He'd covered it quickly, but not before she saw it was her profile, done in quick, confident lines. The cursor blinked on her phone screen. She could text him, ask if he'd meant what he said about spontaneity, ask if he ever noticed that every deal-breaker conversation felt like they were talking around something instead of about it. Instead, she saved the project file and locked the studio door behind her. Some questions were safer left unasked. Jordan pushed through the coffee shop door, carrying 2 laptops and a sketchbook he'd already dropped once in the parking lot. "You're late," Emma said without looking up from her color-coded spreadsheet. "I'm consistent." He slid into the booth, set down the chaos. "There's a difference. Consistently late. Consistently me," he grinned, ordered his usual from the passing barista with a gesture that meant they'd been here too many times. "So, episode 14, what's the damage?" Emma turned her laptop to face him, a spreadsheet with listener questions ranked by engagement metrics and thematic relevance, everything highlighted in 3 different colors. Jordan felt tired just looking at it. "Top request is deal breakers about emotional availability," she said. "Specifically, people who use humor to deflect serious conversations." Jordan's coffee arrived. He wrapped both hands around the cup. "That's incredibly specific. That's the point of the show." "Right, public therapy disguised as content." Emma's mouth did that thing. Not quite a smile. The expression that meant she was trying not to find him funny. "We should probably address it. The deflection thing." "Sure, or we could do the one about people who overthink everything." "That's rich coming from you." "I don't overthink, I underplan. It's different." She took a sip of her latte, left a lipstick mark on the rim. Jordan noticed it and immediately looked away. He'd been doing that lately, noticing things. The way she tucked hair behind her left ear when concentrating. How her handwriting got smaller when she was anxious. The fact that she always ordered the same drink but pretended to consider the menu. "What about this one?" Emma pointed to a question. "Do you think the friend zone is real?" Jordan felt something shift in his chest, a small drop, like missing a step on stairs. "That's a minefield. Everything's a minefield with you." "I'm just saying, that question has a body count." Emma laughed. The surprised one. The one she did when he caught her off guard. It was his favorite sound in the world, and he needed to stop thinking about that. "We could make it interesting," she said. "Debate format. You take one side, I take the other." "Which side do I get?" "You tell me. Do you think people can escape the friend zone?" The question sat between them. Jordan traced the rim of his coffee cup. Emma watched him with that analytical look she got. The marketing strategist expression. Reading data, calculating angles. "I think," he said carefully, "people use friend zone as an excuse. Like it's a place you get trapped instead of a choice you make. So you think feelings can change?" "I think people are scared of what happens if they do." Emma's pen had stopped moving on her notepad. She was looking at him differently now. Or maybe the same way she always looked at him, and he was just finally paying attention. "That's good," she said. Her voice had gone quiet. "We should use that." "Yeah?" "Yeah." She made a note. 3 words in her precise handwriting. Jordan couldn't read them upside down. "What's your deal breaker for today? We need a new one for the episode." Jordan should have thought about this, should have prepared. But he never prepared. That was Emma's job. "People who don't drink coffee," he said. Emma set down her latte, looked at him, looked at it. "I drink coffee." "I know." The moment stretched. Outside, someone's car alarm went off. Stopped. The coffee shop speakers were playing something acoustic and forgettable. "I'm going to get a refill," Emma said. She stood, grabbed her cup, walked to the counter. Jordan watched her go, pulled out his sketchbook, started drawing, stopped, put it away. Some lines were easier left undrawn. The recording light turned red. Emma adjusted her microphone, checked levels, everything technical that made her feel in control. Across the small desk, Jordan sprawled in his chair like gravity was optional. Headphones slightly crooked, coffee within spilling distance of expensive equipment. Episode 14, she said into the mic, professional voice, the one she used for client presentations. Today's topic, why I need space. Jordan hit the intro music, 30 seconds of ambient electronic that he'd composed himself at 2 in the morning. Emma had asked why he was awake. He'd said inspiration. She hadn't believed him. So, Jordan said when the music faded, space, the final frontier. That's a terrible joke. I'm warming up, give me a minute. Emma pulled up her notes, 3 pages of research, statistics, psychological studies on personal boundaries in relationships. Jordan had probably thought about this topic for 15 minutes in the shower. I need space in relationships, she said, reading from her script. Not physical distance, emotional room, time to process things alone before talking about them. That's healthy, Jordan said. It's survival. Those aren't the same thing. Emma looked up. Jordan was leaning forward now, elbows on the desk, present in a way he wasn't always at the start of recordings. She remembered why she liked doing this. The conversations that started performative and became real somewhere in the middle. My ex used to get upset when I needed time alone, she said, not in her notes. He'd say if we were really connected, I'd want to share everything immediately. That's manipulation wrapped in romantic language. I know that now. But you didn't then. Emma touched the edge of her coffee mug, cold. She'd been too focused to drink it. I thought something was wrong with me, that I loved differently, broken. Jordan was quiet. The room held that specific silence of recording studios, dead air that felt alive because they were both in it. You're not broken, he said finally, voice lower, not for the audience. That's not good podcast content. I don't care. Emma felt something in her chest, a loosening, like a knot she'd been tying for 2 years coming undone. She looked at Jordan through the pop filter mesh that separated them. He was looking back, not breaking eye contact, not making a joke. 3 years ago, she'd almost told him about the way she felt. They'd been at his birthday party, everyone drunk on cheap wine, and she'd pulled out her phone to confess via text because she was a coward. But then Jordan had thrown his arm around her shoulders and said, I love our friendship, and she'd deleted the draft. Now she wondered if he remembered that moment, if he'd meant it as a warning or just a truth he needed to speak out loud. Can we talk about the other side? Jordan asked. People who give too much space? That's a thing? Sure. People who disappear the second things get real, who need so much alone time that nobody can actually reach them. He spun his pen, caught it. That's not healthy boundaries. That's avoidance with better marketing. Emma made a note. Wanted to ask if he was talking about someone specific. Didn't. So what's the balance? She asked instead. Hell if I know. That's why we're doing the podcast, right? Figure it out together? I thought we were doing it for the ad revenue. Jordan grinned. That too. They recorded for another 20 minutes. Got into a debate about independence versus intimacy that felt both theoretical and dangerously personal. Emma forgot to check her notes. Jordan forgot to deflect with humor. By the end, they'd gone 10 minutes over their usual runtime. Jordan killed the recording. The red light went dark. He pulled off his headphones, ran a hand through his hair, making it stick up at odd angles. Dinner? He asked. Emma was already packing up her laptop, organizing cables, creating order from chaos. Yeah, where? I don't know, we'll figure it out. She almost said, that's very spontaneous of you, but the words caught. Instead, she nodded, followed him out of the studio into the parking lot, where evening was turning the sky purple and orange. They figured it out, They always did. Emma's apartment looked like a Pinterest board for people with control issues. Minimalist furniture, books organized by color, a whiteboard calendar with color-coded commitments stretching into next March. She stood in her kitchen drinking water from a glass she'd washed twice, staring at her laptop screen. The podcast subreddit had 300 new comments since this morning. She told herself not to read them. Read them anyway. U/romancereader42. The way Emma talks about needing space while literally spending every free moment with Jordan is peak repression. U/podcast junkie. Episode 14 felt different, like they forgot we were listening. U/shipper goals. Timestamp 2314, when Jordan says, "You're not broken," and she goes completely quiet. I felt that. Emma closed the laptop, opened it again, scrolled further. Someone had made a compilation, tagged it every time Emma and Jordan contradict their own deal breakers. It was 18 minutes long. She watched 3 minutes before her phone rang. Marcus, her best friend since college, the only person who consistently called instead of texting like a normal person. "You sound stressed," he said instead of hello. "I'm not stressed." "You answered on the second ring. You're stressed." Emma walked to her living room window, looked out at the parking lot, the street, the city sprawling beyond in organized grids. The podcast is getting too big. That's a good problem. People are reading into everything. Maybe there's something to read into. Marcus had that tone, the one that meant he was about to say something she didn't want to hear. Have you considered that 50,000 listeners might see something you're working very hard to ignore? We're friends. You record a podcast about why relationships fail and spend 3 hours a week dissecting intimacy with someone you've known for 6 years. That's not friendship, babe. That's a committed relationship with plausible deniability. Emma sat on her couch. Perfectly arranged throw pillows surrounded her like soft, geometric accusations. I don't want to lose him. You think being honest would lose him? I think asking for more always does. Marcus was quiet. Through the phone, she could hear his partner saying something in the background, the domestic sounds of a life that worked. Emma, you made a list of why you're single. Does Jordan fit any of those? She thought about the list. The 43 reasons she'd been refining like a thesis on failure. All of them, she whispered. Then maybe the list is wrong. After they hung up, Emma sat in the organized silence of her apartment. She opened her notes app, looked at her comprehensive list of deal breakers. Each one carefully researched, justified, defended in podcast episodes like arguments in court. She thought about Jordan. Late, chaotic, deflecting Jordan who somehow made her laugh during anxiety spirals. Who remembered how she took her coffee. Who'd spent 6 years being exactly the kind of person she'd convinced herself she didn't want. Emma selected all the text, finger hovering over delete. Couldn't do it. Instead, she created a new note. Titled it, Things Jordan Does That I Like. Started typing. Didn't stop for 20 minutes. When she finished, the list had 68 items. Outside, the city lights came on in patterns. Organized chaos, random order, beautiful either way. Crumpled paper surrounded Jordan like failed prayers. His studio space at midnight, blue light from the computer monitor, amber from the desk lamp, both mixing into something that wasn't quite either color. He'd been trying to design the thumbnail for episode 14 for 3 hours. Kept drawing Emma's face. Not intentionally. He'd start with abstract shapes, geometric patterns, something that represented the concept of space in relationships. And then somehow her profile would emerge. The specific angle of her jaw. The way her hair fell when she was concentrating. Jordan crumpled another attempt. Added it to the pile. His phone buzzed. Text from Emma. Episode is scheduled for Friday. Looks good. He typed, thanks. Deleted it. Typed, you made it better. Sent before he could overthink. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Team effort, she replied. Jordan set down his phone, picked up his tablet pen, started sketching without thinking. Let his hand move in the muscle memory of 6 years. The way Emma laughed with her whole face. How she bit her bottom lip when editing audio. The exact expression she got when he said something unexpectedly sincere and she didn't know how to respond. He'd been drawing her for years, in margins of brainstorming notes, on coffee shop napkins while she talked about work. Quick studies of light and shadow that captured the way she existed in space. Never showed her, never would. The first time he'd felt it was 2 years ago, Emma's birthday. She'd been dating that finance guy, David, who talked about ROI in casual conversation. Jordan had watched her try to fit herself into that relationship like forcing puzzle pieces. Smaller, quieter, less. Then David had broken up with her. Some bullshit about timing and goals. Emma had shown up at Jordan's place at 11 p.m. with Thai food and red eyes. They'd eaten on his couch watching terrible movies. She'd fallen asleep with her head on his shoulder. Jordan had stayed perfectly still for 2 hours, barely breathing, memorizing the weight of her, the trust of it. Knew he was in trouble. The drawing took shape under his pen. Emma in profile, looking at something off-frame. He added the specific detail of her coffee shop lipstick mark, the way she tucked hair behind her ear, all the small gestures that made her specifically her. His phone buzzed again. Emma. Marcus asked if we're dating. I said no. Why does everyone keep asking? Jordan stared at the text, at the drawing, at the pile of crumpled failures surrounding him like evidence. He typed, "Because we have chemistry." Deleted it. Typed, "Maybe they see something we don't." Deleted it. Typed, "Weird, right?" Sent it. Emma hearted the message, went offline. Jordan saved the drawing to a private folder, started a new thumbnail from scratch. This time he kept it abstract. Some art was meant to stay hidden. Physical chemistry isn't everything, Emma said into the microphone. Jordan made a noise that wasn't quite agreement. You disagree? She leaned forward. The desk between them felt smaller than usual. I think people use that phrase to dismiss chemistry when it scares them. Or maybe chemistry without compatibility is just attraction, not sustainable. But compatibility without chemistry is friendship. Emma felt the argument shift. They'd been recording for 15 minutes. Episode 15, Physical Chemistry Isn't Everything, and it was going differently than planned. The air in the studio felt charged, like the moment before lightning. So you're saying chemistry is required, she said. I'm saying pretending it doesn't matter is lying to yourself. And chasing chemistry without anything deeper is immature. Jordan spun his pen, caught it. What if they're not separate things? What if real chemistry comes from compatibility, from knowing someone well enough that physical attraction becomes inevitable? Emma's notes sat untouched on the desk. They'd gone completely off script. She should redirect, keep it theoretical, safe. That's not how attraction works, she said instead. Isn't it? Jordan's voice had dropped. Not his podcast voice, the real one underneath. You think people just randomly find each other attractive? Or does it build? Share jokes, late-night conversations, the way someone laughs at something only you would notice. You're describing friendship. Am I? The question hung between them. Through the glass partition, their producer, Sarah, was making a gesture. Keep going. This is good content. Emma reached for her coffee, hand not quite steady. Physical attraction is biological. Compatibility is behavioral. They're different systems. Okay. Jordan crossed his arms, settled back. The debater in him activating. So you've never been friends with someone and then suddenly noticed them differently? Never had that moment where attraction just showed up after years of nothing? That's rare. That's common. People just don't talk about it because it's inconvenient. Inconvenient how? Because if you admit attraction to a friend, you risk the friendship. So people pretend they don't feel it, categorize it as something else. platonic, safe. Emma felt her pulse in her throat. Maybe some people value the friendship too much to risk it on something that might just be physical. Maybe some people use just physical to avoid admitting it's more. They were leaning toward each other now, both hands on the desk. The microphone cables formed a small barrier between them. Jordan's eyes had that focused look. Not joking, not deflecting. "This is theoretical, right?" Emma said quietly. "Sure." Jordan's voice matched hers. "Completely theoretical. Because in practice, Jordan interrupted, people spend years dancing around something obvious because they're terrified of changing what works. Or because what works is worth protecting. Or because they're cowards." The word landed hard. Emma felt it in her chest. "That's not fair. Isn't it? How long do you wait before fear becomes the choice?" Sarah knocked on the glass, made a cutting gesture. They'd gone 20 minutes over. Emma broke eye contact first, reached for the controls. "We should wrap." "Yeah." Jordan sat back, ran a hand through his hair. "Yeah, okay." Emma pulled up the script for their outro, professional voice returning, the mask sliding back into place. "So, listeners, what do you think? Can compatibility create chemistry? Or is physical attraction its own force? Let us know in the comments." Jordan hit the outro music, the familiar electronic fade. They sat in silence as it played, neither moving to take off their headphones. The song ended. The red recording light went dark. "That was intense," Sarah's voice came through the intercom. "You two okay?" "Fine," Emma said, too quickly. Jordan started coiling cables, methodical movements, not looking at her. "I might have gone too hard on the debate, sorry." "No, it was good." Emma packed her laptop, created order from the chaos of notes scattered across the desk. "People like it when we disagree." "Right, content." "Exactly." They cleaned up in synchronized silence. 6 months of recording together meant they knew the routine, who handled which equipment, how to move around each other in the small space without touching. Except Jordan handed her the pop filter at the exact moment Emma reached for it. Their fingers overlapped. Just for a second. Both pulled back. "I'm going to head out," Emma said, grabbed her bag, keys, phone, all the objects that meant leaving. "See you Thursday?" Jordan asked. "Thursday, yeah." Emma walked to her car in the parking lot, sat behind the wheel, didn't start the engine. Through the studio window, she could see Jordan still inside, standing in the blue light, not moving. She started the car, drove home, didn't look back. Thursday was 3 days away. Rain on metal made the sound of static between stations. Emma sat in her car in the parking lot outside Jordan's studio. Engine off, heat fading. The November rain had started during their recording and showed no signs of stopping. She should drive home. Her apartment was 15 minutes away. Dry clothes, organized space, the comfort of control. Instead, she sat, watched water race down the windshield in paths that looked random but followed gravity's inevitable logic. Her phone sat in the cup holder. Spotify had been playing when she got in the car. Now it was suggesting playlists based on her recent activity. Chill acoustic, it offered. Late night drives. Songs Jordan shared with you, 2021. Emma's hand moved without permission. Clicked the last one. The first song came through her speakers soft. A indie track with honest lyrics about missing people who were still in your life. She remembered when Jordan had sent this. 2 years ago, middle of the night, no context. Just a link in a text that said, "This made me think of you." She'd listened to it once, hearted his message, never mentioned it again. Now she pressed repeat. Through the rain-blurred windshield, she could see the studio lights still on. Jordan's silhouette moving past the window, probably cleaning up, organizing cables in the chaotic system that only made sense to him. Emma pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them, made herself small in the driver's seat. They'd almost kissed today, not physically, but in that moment when Jordan asked, "Am I?" and the space between question and answer stretched too long. When they both leaned forward and the only thing between them was microphone cable and 6 years of careful distance. She thought about the podcast, how it had started as a joke, Jordan's way of turning her post-breakup cynicism into something productive. Make a list of why relationships fail, analyze it, monetize the damage, except somewhere in the analysis, something had shifted. Episode 3, when they talked about emotional unavailability, and Jordan had said, "Sometimes people are available, you're just not looking." The way he'd said it, like he meant something specific. Episode 7, Love Languages. Emma explaining she needed words of affirmation. Jordan, "You're the most capable person I know." Her, "That's not romantic." Him, "Doesn't have to be romantic to be true." Episode 11, Timeline Expectations. Jordan arguing people waste time waiting for the right moment instead of creating it. Emma arguing some things need time to develop properly. Both of them talking around something neither would name. And now, episode 15, Physical Chemistry, Compatibility. The way attraction builds through knowing someone completely. Emma replayed the recording in her mind, not the polished version they'd release, the raw moment. Jordan's voice when he said, "People spend years dancing around something obvious because they're terrified of changing what works." Her phone buzzed. Text from Sophie, her sister. "Dinner this weekend? Need to ask you something about the wedding." Right, the wedding. 2 months away. Sophie kept asking if Emma was bringing anyone. Emma kept deflecting. She typed back, "Sure, Saturday?" Sophie, "Perfect. You can bring Jordan if you want. He's basically family." Emma stared at the message, started to type, "We're just friends." Deleted it. Tried, "He might be busy." Deleted that too. Sent, "Maybe." The song ended, started over. She'd lost count of how many times. Outside, the studio lights went dark. Jordan emerged, jacket pulled over his head, running for his car. He didn't see her. Drove past. Taillights disappearing into rain and darkness. Emma sat alone in the parking lot. She thought about her list. 43 deal breakers. 43 walls she'd built between herself and disappointment. Each one researched, justified, defended like a dissertation on why love was too risky. And Jordan, who fit every single one, who was late and chaotic and deflected with humor, who made her laugh when she wanted to plan, who gave spontaneous hugs that lasted exactly 4 seconds, who'd been drawing her face for years without knowing she'd noticed. She opened her notes app, found the list, read through it one more time. Then she opened her messages, typed, "We need to talk about today's recording." Stared at it, deleted it, typed, "That episode felt different." Deleted, typed, "Were we still talking about theory?" Her thumb hovered over send. The rain continued its rhythm on the car roof. Patient, inevitable. Emma locked her phone, started the engine, drove home through empty streets. Some questions needed more than text, more than podcast episodes, more than careful distance. Some questions needed courage she wasn't sure she had. Emma stood on a small platform in white light, pins digging into fabric that cost more than her laptop. "Stop moving," the seamstress said, muffled through pins in her mouth. Sophie sat in a chair by the mirror, scrolling her phone, radiating the specific smugness of brides-to-be. The bridal shop smelled like expensive perfume and decisions Emma wasn't ready to make. "So," Sophie said, not looking up. "Jordan." Emma's stomach dropped. "What about him?" "You talk about him more than any boyfriend you've ever had." "He's my business partner." "He's your person." Sophie finally looked up. That older sister expression. The one that said she saw through everything. "Emma, come on." The seamstress tugged at the bridesmaid dress. Emma watched her reflection. Dusty rose fabric that Sophie had chosen because it complemented everyone. She looked uncomfortable, felt more so. We're friends, Emma said. You record a relationship podcast with him every week. That's work. You had dinner with him 3 times last week. We were planning content. Sophie set down her phone. Do you hear yourself? You're using project management language to describe your actual life. Emma wanted to step off the platform, walk out, but the seamstress was pinning the hem, and movement meant getting stabbed. Trapped. What do you want me to say? That you like him, that you've liked him for years and you're too scared to do anything about it. I'm not scared. You made a podcast about why relationships fail instead of trying to make one work. That's not fear? The seamstress finished. Step back. Emma climbed down, careful not to trip on the too long fabric. She looked at herself in the 3-way mirror. 3 versions of the same discomfort. What if it ruins everything? Emma said quietly. Sophie stood, walked over, fixed Emma's hair where it had gotten caught in the dress strap. What if it doesn't? That's not an answer. Neither is hiding. Sophie met her eyes in the mirror. You know what Mom used to say? Fear of loss keeps you from having anything worth losing. Mom also married 3 times. And she was happy all 3 times while it lasted. Sophie smiled, sad but certain. Emma, you've spent 2 years analyzing why love fails. Maybe it's time to figure out why it works. The seamstress returned with pins and measuring tape, started discussing alterations, numbers and adjustments. Emma let herself be measured, quantified, made to fit. Her phone buzzed in her purse. Sophie grabbed it before Emma could. It's Jordan, Sophie said, reading. Asking if you want to review episode 16 edits tonight. She looked at Emma. You're seeing him tonight? We have a deadline. Emma. What? Sophie handed her the phone. You're going to spend the evening in a room with someone you have feelings for, pretending you don't, analyzing why other people's relationships don't work. You see the irony, right? Emma took the phone, read the message. Jordan's casual tone, like they hadn't spent their last recording session circling something neither would name. Like Tuesday's almost moment had been edited out of existence. She typed back, Sure, 7 p.m.? Sophie watched her. You're really not going to say anything. There's nothing to say. There's everything to say. That's the problem. The seamstress asked Emma to turn. She rotated slowly. All 3 mirrors showed the same woman in dusty rows, prepared to stand beside someone else's happiness while carefully maintaining distance from her own. I'm bringing +1s to the wedding, Sophie said. You should bring Jordan. I don't think, not asking, telling, he's coming. Sophie's voice had gone full bride mode, the tone that meant argument was futile. And you're going to figure out if he's your +1 or your person. Those aren't the same thing. Exactly, Sophie said. Outside the fitting room, rain started against the windows. Emma changed back into her own clothes, left the dress to be altered, fixed, made to fit someone else's vision. 7 p.m. was 5 hours away. She had no idea what she'd say. The recording light turned red for episode 16. Emma had been dreading this one since they'd scheduled it. The friend zone myth. Can you escape, or is it real? Listeners had voted overwhelmingly for this topic, 3,000 comments demanding they address it. Jordan sat across from her, headphones on, looking relaxed in the way that meant he was actively pretending. She knew that look. 6 years of friendship meant reading his micro-expressions like subtitles. Big topic today, she said into the mic. Professional voice. Armor. The biggest, Jordan agreeing. Should we define terms first? Let's. Friend zone. The idea that platonic friendship is a holding pattern for people who want romance but can't have it. Or, Jordan said carefully, the excuse people use when they're not interested, blaming friendship instead of admitting there's no attraction. Emma made notes on her tablet, not because she needed them, because looking down felt safer than looking at him. So you don't think it's real? I think it's complicated. That's not an answer. Neither is pretending feelings stay in neat categories. She looked up. Jordan was watching her with that expression, the one from episode 15, when they talked about chemistry and compatibility and stopped talking in theory. "Let's structure this," Emma said, grabbing for control. "I'll argue the friend zone is real. You argue it's not. Debate format." "Okay," Jordan leaned back. "You start." Emma pulled up her research. Statistics about friendship to romance success rates. Studies on perception versus reality. All the data that proves some people stayed in friendship because romance wasn't possible. "The friend zone exists," she said, "because compatibility isn't enough. You can be friends with someone, enjoy their company, respect them completely, and still not feel attraction. That's not anyone's fault. It's just reality. And pretending you can force attraction by waiting or being a good friend long enough is manipulation dressed as devotion." Jordan was quiet, longer than he should be for good podcast pacing. "Counter-argument?" Emma prompted. "I think," Jordan said slowly, "people use friend zone to avoid risk. They convince themselves attraction is either instant or impossible, never considering that feelings build, that knowing someone deeply might create attraction that wasn't there initially. So you're saying anyone can fall for a friend if they try hard enough?" "I'm saying people lie to themselves about what they feel to protect what they have." The studio felt smaller. Emma's hand touched the edge of her tablet, not scrolling, just holding. "That's not the same thing," she said. "Isn't it?" Jordan's voice had dropped. "Someone says, 'I value our friendship too much,' when what they mean is, 'I'm scared to lose you if I'm honest.' Or maybe they actually value the friendship. Then why does it feel like loss?" The question sat between them. Emma thought about her list. 43 reasons she was single, all of them describing Jordan. How long had she been using friendship as protection instead of truth? "We're getting personal," she said quietly, off script but on mic. "This is supposed to be theoretical." "Is it?" Emma felt her pulse in her throat. The recording light was still red. Everything they said would be public, analyzed, commented on by thousands of people who thought they knew what Emma and Jordan were too scared to admit. "I think," Emma said carefully, "some people stay in the friend zone because they're mature enough to know not every feeling needs to be acted on. That sometimes protecting something good is worth more than risking it for something that might be better." "Or," Jordan said quietly, "sometimes people stay because they're waiting for the other person to be brave first." Silence. The microphone captured it. 5 seconds that felt like 5 years. "This is good stuff," Emma said finally, breaking. "Our listeners will love it." "Yeah," Jordan's voice had gone flat. "Great content." They recorded for another 15 minutes, professional, distant, dancing around the conversation underneath the conversation. When Emma stopped the recording, they packed up in silence. "See you Thursday," Jordan said at the door. "Thursday," Emma echoed. He left. She sat alone in the empty studio, wondered how long they could keep doing this. The agency office had the aesthetic of people who took creativity seriously. Exposed brick, reclaimed wood, a conference table that probably cost more than Emma's car. She sat next to Jordan, across from two marketing executives who looked like they'd been cast for a commercial about marketing executives. "Your engagement metrics are incredible," the woman said. "Kristen, senior vice president of something with too many words. 20% month-over-month growth. Comments through the roof." "But," Emma said, there was always a but. "But we think you're leaving chemistry on the table." The man, Derek, pulled up a tablet, showed them a graph. "Your highest performing episodes are when you two, disagree isn't the right word, engage, push back, when listeners feel the tension." Jordan shifted beside her. His knee was 3 inches from hers under the table. Emma was suddenly very aware of that distance. "You want us to argue more?" Jordan asked. "We want you to lean into the dynamic," Kristen said. The audience ships you. Hard. Every comment section is people reading into moments, speculating about subtext. That's gold. Emma felt something cold in her stomach. You want us to perform attraction. We want you to stop performing distance. Derek smiled, practiced. Look, we've done focus groups. Listeners tune in for the content. They stay for the hosts, specifically for watching two people who are clearly into each other pretend they're not. We're friends, Emma said. That's the appeal. Kristen leaned forward. Will they, won't they? It's the oldest story in entertainment. We're just suggesting you let it breathe. Stop being so careful. Jordan laughed, sharp, not humorous. You want us to monetize our friendship. We want to maximize your platform. Derek didn't miss a beat. The current format is good, but imagine a live episode, real-time audience interaction, questions you can't control, moments you can't edit out. Emma looked at Jordan. He was staring at the table, jaw tight, the expression he got when he was trying not to react. What kind of questions? Emma asked. Kristen smiled. The kind your listeners ask in every comment section, about your relationship, your chemistry, whether you've ever thought about each other as more than friends. That's invasive, Jordan said. That's engagement. Derek pulled up more graphs. Look at these projections. A live episode with Q&A could triple your metrics, get you on Spotify's featured list. Real monetization potential. Emma thought about her student loans, the freelance marketing gigs she still took to make rent, how the podcast had gone from joke to side income to something that might actually be sustainable. How much? She asked. Jordan looked at her. Something in his expression she couldn't read. Kristen named a number. Emma tried not to react. It was more than she made in 2 months at her day job. There would be rules, Emma said. Boundaries. Of course. Kristen pushed a contract across the table. We're not asking you to lie, just to be honest. Answer questions truthfully. Let the audience in. Jordan picked up the contract, scanned it, set it down. Can we think about it? Sure. We need an answer by Friday. Derek stood, extended his hand. This is a great opportunity. Don't overthink it. They walked out into afternoon sun. Emma's car was parked next to Jordan's in the lot. They stood between vehicles, not quite looking at each other. That was surreal, Emma said. They want to turn us into content. Jordan's voice had an edge. Literally, make our friendship into a product. It already is. That's what the podcast is. This is different. How? Jordan turned to face her. They want us to answer questions about whether we've ever thought about each other romantically. On a live stream, with 15,000 people watching. You don't see how that's different? Emma felt defensive, pushed back. We can say no to questions, set boundaries. Or we could just say no to the whole thing and lose the biggest opportunity we've had. Is money worth that? Says the person without student loans. The words came out sharper than she meant. Jordan flinched, looked away. Emma closed her eyes. I'm sorry, that was unfair. It's fine. It's not. She touched his arm, brief. Jordan, I don't know what to do. They're asking us to be vulnerable in a way that feels scary? Yeah. Jordan was quiet, watching traffic pass on the street beyond the parking lot. What if we set rules? Like, we'll do the live stream, but certain questions are off limits. Like what? Like, he trailed off. I don't know. We'd need to talk about it. Okay. Emma pulled out her phone. Coffee tomorrow? We can strategize. Can't tomorrow. Client meeting. Thursday? We record Thursday. After recording? After recording, Emma agreed. They got in separate cars, drove separate directions. Emma watched Jordan's car disappear in her rearview mirror, wondered what questions she was most afraid to answer. Jordan sat at his desk at midnight, staring at a text message Emma had sent 3 hours ago. We need to talk about the live stream. He'd read it 47 times. Knew that because his phone showed the count. Pathetic. He was being pathetic. His workspace looked like a creative bomb had detonated. Half-finished design mock-ups, coffee cups from 3 different days, sketches scattered across every surface. Most of them were podcast thumbnails. Some of them were Emma. Jordan picked up his tablet, opened the folder he'd labeled Archive Projects because he was a coward who couldn't even name his feelings in file organization. 132 drawings, all of her. Some from life, quick studies done while she talked, thinking he was doodling. Some from memory, some from the part of his imagination that wondered what she looked like, laughing at something only he could see. He scrolled through them, a catalog of avoidance. Emma in the coffee shop, light catching her profile. Emma in the studio, headphones on, focused. Emma at his birthday party 3 years ago, mid-laugh, wine glass tilted. That one he remembered drawing from his bathroom at 2 a.m., trying to capture something he'd been too drunk and too sober to forget. His phone buzzed. Another text from Emma. "Okay, sure." Jordan stared at it. Sure what? He scrolled up. Right, his message from an hour ago. Coffee tomorrow? Except he'd canceled. Client meeting. They were recording Thursday. Emma. After recording works. Works for what? Talking about the live stream. About standing in front of 15,000 people and answering whether they'd ever thought about each other as more than friends. Jordan typed, "What if we just don't do it?" Watched the message sit unsent. Deleted it. Typed, "What if we do it and I have to lie?" Deleted that too. Sent. "See you Thursday." Professional, distant, safe. He closed the drawing app. Opened their podcast analytics. The numbers were good. Better than good. Their last episode had hit 80,000 downloads. Comments were at 400 and climbing. Every single one some variation of, "Just date already," or "The tension is killing me," or "I ship it." Ship it, like they were fictional characters, a story other people consumed. Jordan thought about Kristen and Derek in their expensive office. Lean into the dynamic. Monetize the tension. Make their careful distance into content that paid. He pulled up episode 16, the one they'd recorded today about the friend zone. Scrubbed to the moment Emma had said, "Some people stay because they're mature enough to know not every feeling needs to be acted on." Jordan had wanted to reach across the desk, take off her headphones, ask her to stop using theory as a shield. Instead, he'd said, "Sometimes people stay because they're waiting for the other person to be brave first." He played it back. Listen to the silence after. 5 seconds where neither of them said anything, and the microphone captured the weight of everything unspoken. That's what 15,000 people would hear on Friday. Jordan closed his laptop. Tomorrow was Wednesday. Thursday was recording. Friday was the live stream decision deadline. He had 2 days to figure out which questions scared him more, the ones the audience would ask, or the ones he'd been avoiding for 2 years. The coffee shop was loud with afternoon crowd. Emma and Jordan sat in their usual corner booth, contracts spread across the table like evidence. Emma had her color-coded list out, 3 columns, safe questions, gray area, and absolutely not. "What's your favorite thing about each other?" Jordan read from the sample questions the agency had sent. "That's safe, right?" "Safe-ish." Emma made a mark in the gray area column. "Depends on the answer." "I'll say your organizational skills." "That's the most unromantic answer possible." "Exactly. Safe." Emma looked at him. Jordan was scanning the contract, not meeting her eyes. He'd been doing that all week, since the agency meeting, since episode 16, since they'd started dancing around something neither would name. "Have you ever thought about dating?" Emma read the next question. Silence. "Gray area?" Jordan offered. "That's firmly, absolutely not. We could answer truthfully, say no." Emma's pen paused on the paper. "Is that your truthful answer?" Jordan finally looked up. "Is it yours?" The coffee shop noise faded to background hum. Emma felt caught. pinned by the question underneath the question. I think, she said carefully, we should establish that some questions are about our brand, not our actual lives. Our brand is our actual lives. That's the whole podcast. You know what I mean. I don't. Jordan set down the contract, leaned forward. Emma, they're asking us to go on camera and potentially lie to 15,000 people, or tell truths we've never told each other. I need to know which one you're planning on doing. I'm planning on protecting our friendship. By lying? By not turning everything into content. Everything is already content. We record 3 hours a week discussing our feelings about relationships. This is just cutting out the subtext. Emma's phone buzzed. Text from Sophie. Did you ask Jordan about being your +1 yet? She silenced it. Looked back at Jordan. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me if we're doing this live stream because it's good for the podcast or because you want an excuse to finally talk about what's been happening for the past 6 months. Nothing's been happening. Emma, we're business partners, friends, that's it. Jordan laughed, hard edge to it. Right. Friends who record a show about why relationships fail while carefully avoiding examining their own relationship. That's completely normal. We don't have a relationship. We have 300 hours of recorded conversations about intimacy. We have dinner twice a week. You know my coffee order and my therapy schedule and what expression I make when I'm about to deflect with humor. If that's not a relationship, what is? Emma felt something crack in her chest. We're friends. And I'm saying maybe that's not enough. The words hung between them. The coffee shop sounds rushed back in. Espresso machine hissing, someone laughing, indie music playing too low to identify. Don't do this, Emma said quietly. Do what? Make me choose between risking everything and staying safe. That's life, Emma. That's the choice. That's terrifying. I know, Jordan's voice softened. I'm terrified too. Emma looked at her list. 3 careful columns. Safe. Gray. Absolutely not. As if she could organize her way out of feeling something. The live stream is Friday, she said. That's 2 days. I'm aware. What if we do it and everything falls apart? What if we don't and we spend the next 2 years recording a show about missed opportunities? Emma closed her notebook, started gathering papers. I need to think. Okay, I'll text you tonight. Sure. They packed up in synchronous silence. 6 months of partnership meant knowing the choreography, who grabbed which cup, how to move around each other without touching. At the door, Jordan paused. Emma, whatever we decide about the live stream, we need to be honest with each other first. I know. Do you? She didn't answer, walked to her car, drove home through afternoon traffic that moved too slow and too fast. That night she didn't text him. Thursday's recording was 18 hours away. The tablet pen moved in patterns that made sense only while drawing. Jordan had been working on podcast branding redesign for 3 hours. Not because they needed new branding, because his hands needed something to do besides reach for his phone. Emma hadn't texted. It was 11 p.m. Thursday's recording was in 19 hours. The live stream decision deadline was 31 hours away. He'd refreshed his messages 17 times. His studio desk was covered in iterations, logo concepts, color palette explorations, typography studies that all looked the same because he couldn't focus. Jordan set down the pen, picked up his phone, opened his conversation with Emma. Their last exchange, I'll text you tonight. That was 7 hours ago. He could text first, ask if she was okay, if she'd decided anything. Instead, he opened Instagram. Emma's profile. Her grid was clean, organized. Photos of coffee shops and sunsets and carefully curated moments that looked effortless but weren't. The most recent post was from 3 days ago. A photo of their podcast microphones with morning light. Caption, Episode 16 drops Friday. We're talking about the friend zone. Drop your hot takes below. 462 comments. Jordan scrolled through them. Y'all are in the friend zone and won't admit it. The way Jordan looks at Emma in the video clips, sir, this whole show is foreplay, changed my mind. He closed the app, opened his drawing folder instead, the one labeled Archive, scrolled through 2 years of avoiding the truth in ink and pixels. The first drawing was from a podcast planning session, Emma laughing at something. He'd captured the exact moment, the surprised joy before she remembered to be guarded. The last drawing was from yesterday, her profile in the coffee shop. That expression she got when she was thinking hard about something, brow slightly furrowed, lip caught between teeth. He'd drawn her processing, worried, beautiful in the way that had nothing to do with structure and everything to do with seeing someone completely. Jordan selected all the drawings, 134 files, finger hovering over delete. If the live stream happened, he'd have to answer questions. Have you ever thought about dating? Yes, for 2 years. Do you think she feels the same? I have no idea. Why haven't you said anything? Because some things matter too much to risk on maybe. If the live stream didn't happen, they'd keep recording, keep dancing around it, keep building a show about relationship failure while failing to examine their own. He didn't delete the drawings. Instead, he created a new one, Emma in the studio, headphones on, but this time he drew what he'd been too careful to show. The way he looked at her when she wasn't watching, the expression that said everything he wouldn't say out loud. Saved it, closed the tablet. Tomorrow was Thursday, answers or avoidance, truth or content. His phone stayed silent. Outside his window, the city lights made patterns. Random, inevitable, both. Going live in 60 seconds, the producer said through the headphones. Emma's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the desk. Jordan sat across from her, face carefully neutral. They hadn't talked since yesterday's coffee shop conversation, just texted about logistics. Professional. Cold. 15,000 people were waiting. The live chat scrolling past on the monitor showed names and comments appearing faster than she could read. Love Podcast Junkie. I've been waiting for this episode for weeks. Shipper goals. They're finally going to address it. Romance Reader 42. My heart isn't ready. Emma looked at Jordan. He was watching the viewer count tick up. 15,200. 15,500. Every one of them waiting for something Emma wasn't sure she could give. 30 seconds, the producer said. Jordan finally met her eyes. We don't have to do this. We agreed. I don't care. If you want to stop, we stop. Emma thought about the contract, the money, the opportunity, then about the questions on the list she'd memorized last night instead of sleeping. 10 seconds. I'm okay, she said. The red light came on. Live. No editing. No taking things back. Hey everyone, Jordan said, easy smile sliding into place. Welcome to a special live episode of Dealbreakers. I'm Jordan. And I'm Emma. Her voice only shook slightly. Today we're doing something different. Answering your questions. No filter. The comments exploded. Emma watched the chat scroll. Audience member. Do you love each other? Anonymous. Have you ever kissed? Fan 23. What's the real dynamic? Let's start with some softballs, Jordan said, pulling up the question queue. What's your favorite episode you've recorded? Emma breathed. Safe question. Episode 7, Love Languages. It was the first one where we really disagreed. Mine's episode 3, Jordan said. Emotional availability. Because Emma called me out for deflecting, and I couldn't even argue. You tried to argue. I deflected with argument. Very meta. Despite everything, Emma smiled. This they could do. The banter. The performance of friendship. Next question, Jordan said. What's one thing you appreciate about each other that you haven't said on the podcast? Emma's smile faded. Less safe. You go first, she said. Jordan was quiet. 5 seconds that felt longer on livestream. Emma makes me want to be more honest. She doesn't let me get away with my usual deflection. It's terrifying and necessary. The chat went wild. Emma felt something in her chest loosen and tighten simultaneously. "Your turn," Jordan prompted. "Jordan," she paused, chose words carefully. "Jordan makes me feel like it's okay to not have everything figured out. Like chaos isn't failure. That's hard for me to accept, but he makes it feel possible." More comments. Emma couldn't read them, was trying not to. "Getting deeper," Jordan said, false lightness in his voice. "Okay, next. Have you two ever fought off camera?" "Define fought," Emma said. "See, that's avoiding." "Fine, yes, we fight." Emma looked at him. "Wednesday, coffee shop. We fought about whether to do this live stream." And? "And we're here, so I guess you won." "I didn't want to win. I wanted us to be honest." "About what?" Emma felt her pulse in her throat. "Live. 15,000 people." Jordan looked at the camera, at the viewer count, back at Emma. "Do you want me to read the next question?" "Yes." He clicked, paused. "It's from user Shipper Goals. Have you ever thought about dating each other?" The studio went completely silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Emma's hands were flat on the desk. Jordan was watching her, waiting. The red light was still on. The viewer count was at 16,000 and climbing. She could lie, say no, laugh it off, protect the friendship, or yes, she said quietly. The chat exploded. Emma ignored it. Jordan's expression changed, something open and vulnerable and terrified. "Yes? Yes, I've thought about it. A lot." Her voice was shaking. "For probably 2 years, maybe longer. I don't know when it started, but yes." "Emma." "Your turn," she interrupted. "Have you?" Jordan laughed, sharp, disbelieving. "That's what you're asking? If I've thought about dating you?" "On live stream, no editing, no filter." He ran a hand through his hair. "Yes, obviously yes. I've thought about little else for 2 years. I chose episode topics hoping you'd realize. Drew you 100 times. Listened to you talk about deal breakers while knowing I fit every single one and hoping that meant something." Emma felt tears threatening, blinked them back. "We're doing this on camera." "You started it." "I know. 16,000 people are watching." "I know. What do we do now?" Emma looked at the viewer count, at the endless scrolling comments, at Jordan across from her, expression raw and real and terrified. She reached across the desk, hand palm up, offering. Jordan stared at it, at her, took her hand. The comments went absolutely insane. "We finished the episode," Emma said. "Then we talk, off camera, just us." "Okay, okay." They sat there, hands clasped over microphone cables. Red light still recording. 16,000 witnesses to something that had been building for 2 years. The live stream continued for another 40 minutes. Emma didn't remember most of it, just the weight of Jordan's hand in hers, the way neither of them let go. The studio was quiet after the live stream ended. Producer gone. Equipment powered down. Just Emma and Jordan sitting in the aftermath. Neither had moved, hands still clasped across the desk. "That happened," Jordan said finally. "That happened. 16,000 people watched us. Admit we've been lying to ourselves for 2 years?" Emma finished. "Yeah." Jordan's thumb was tracing small circles on her palm. "Probably didn't realize he was doing it." Emma noticed everything. "We should probably talk," he said. "Probably," but neither moved. The studio had that post-recording stillness, the specific quiet of a space designed to capture sound. Emma looked at their hands, hers pale, his tan, fingers interlaced like they'd been doing it for years instead of minutes. It felt natural, obvious, like missing puzzle pieces that had been sitting side by side the whole time. "I'm scared," she said. "Me too." "What if this ruins everything?" Jordan met her eyes. "Emma, everything's already ruined. We've been recording a show about relationship failure while failing to examine our actual relationship. We have dinner 3 times a week. You know my therapy schedule. I know your sister's wedding seating chart. We're already in it. The only question is whether we're brave enough to name it. I have a list. I know about your list. 43 deal breakers that describe you. I know. You read most of them on the podcast." Jordan smiled, sad but certain. "I kept waiting for you to realize. Every time you'd list something, I'd think, that's me. She's describing me. And you just keep going like it meant nothing. It meant everything. That's why it was terrifying." "So what now?" Emma thought about her apartment, organized, safe, the life she'd built around control and careful distance. Then about Jordan's chaotic studio, coffee-stained sketches, 134 drawings of her face that she wasn't supposed to know about. "Now we try," she said, terrified, "probably mess it up, but we try." "No more theory?" "No more theory." Jordan stood, walked around the desk. Emma stood to meet him. They were standing closer than they'd ever stood. She could see the exact color of his eyes, light brown with gold. How had she never noticed that? "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "Or is that too fast?" "It's been 2 years." "Fair point." He leaned in, slow, giving her time to pull back. Emma didn't pull back, met him halfway. The kiss was soft, tentative, testing. Then it wasn't. Emma's hands went to his hair, his wrapped around her waist. The kiss deepened. 2 years of careful distance collapsing into this moment in an empty studio where they'd spent 6 months talking around what they were too scared to say. When they pulled apart, Jordan was smiling. Real smile, not the deflecting one. "That was..." "Yeah," Emma agreed. "We just kissed." "I'm aware." After admitting feelings on a live stream, "Very aware," Jordan laughed, pulled her closer, rested his forehead against hers. "We're going to be insufferable now, aren't we?" "Probably. Should we warn the listeners?" "I think they figured it out months ago." Emma thought about the comments, the compilation videos. 400 people in every episode thread saying what she and Jordan had been too careful to admit. "We should go," she said. "Process this, figure out what we're doing." "Or," Jordan said, "we could get dinner, like we do 3 times a week, except this time, acknowledge it's a date." "Our first date is the same as everything we've been doing?" "That's the point. We've been dating for 2 years, just with extra steps and worse communication." Emma kissed him again, shorter, sweeter. "Dinner, then we talk about the podcast, how to move forward, boundaries. You want to organize our relationship. I organize everything." "I know." Jordan grabbed his jacket, held the studio door open. "That's deal breaker number 12. You memorize my list? Every single item." Emma walked past him into the parking lot. Evening air, November cold. Jordan's hand found hers. "For the record," she said, "your list?" "Yeah. I want to hear it sometime." Jordan smiled. "It's 1 item, not Emma." "That's it?" "That's it." They drove to dinner in separate cars, followed each other through the city like they had 100 times before. This time, knowing where they were going. Finally, Marcus answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. "Emma, it's midnight. I kissed Jordan." Silence. Then, "What?" Emma sat cross-legged on her bed, phone pressed to her ear, feeling like a teenager who just had her first kiss. Which was ridiculous. She was 28. This was not her first kiss. It was just the first one that mattered. "We did the live stream," she said, words tumbling out fast. "And someone asked if we'd ever thought about dating, and I said yes, and he said yes. And then after we held hands for 40 minutes on camera, and then after we kissed in the studio, and now I don't know what's happening." Marcus was quiet. She could hear him sitting up, the rustle of sheets, his partner asking something in the background. "Okay," Marcus said finally, "start from the beginning." So Emma did. Told him about the past week, the agency meeting, the coffee shop argument, the live stream question, the exact moment she'd stopped protecting herself and just answered honestly. "And Jordan?" Marcus asked. "Said he's thought about me for 2 years, that he's been drawing me, choosing podcast topics, hoping I'd realize." "Drawing you?" "Apparently. That's romantic and slightly creepy." "I know. So now what?" Emma looked around her bedroom. Perfectly made bed she was currently wrinkling. Books organized by color on her shelf. Everything in its place except her life. "We're having dinner tomorrow. An actual date. Acknowledging it's a date. That's good. What if I'm terrible at this?" "Emma," Marcus's voice softened. "You've been in a relationship with him for 2 years. You just called it friendship. Nothing actually changes except honesty." "Everything changes, or everything finally makes sense." Emma pulled her laptop over, opened her notes app. The list was still there. "Why I'm still single, a comprehensive list. 43 carefully researched reasons." She selected all. Finger over delete. "Marcus," she said quietly, "what if I lose him?" "What if you don't?" "That's not an answer. It's the only answer. Love is risk. You know this. You've been analyzing it for 6 months on a podcast. The question isn't whether there's risk. It's whether he's worth it." Emma thought about Jordan. Late, chaotic, making her laugh when she needed control. Seeing her completely and somehow still staying. She pressed delete, watched 43 reasons disappear, created a new note instead, titled it, "Why This Might Work." "I have to go," she told Marcus. "Call me tomorrow, after the date. I want details." "You'll get a full report." "Color-coded?" "Obviously," Marcus laughed. "Good luck, babe, you've got this." After hanging up, Emma stared at the empty note, cursor blinking, waiting. She typed, "Reason 1. He already knows the worst parts and stayed." Then, "Reason 2. I know his worst parts and want to stay." Then, "Reason 3. We're already in it. Have been for 2 years. Might as well stop pretending." Outside her window, the city was quiet. Midnight on a Thursday. Somewhere Jordan was probably not sleeping either. Probably drawing or overthinking or both. Emma set an alarm for tomorrow. First real date. 6 years late. Better late than lost. She turned off the light, lay in the dark, smiled. Tomorrow was Friday. Everything started tomorrow. Emma couldn't sleep. 2 a.m. Her apartment dark except for laptop glow. She'd closed it 3 times, opened it 4. The live stream was archived on their channel. 28,000 views already. Emma had told herself she wouldn't watch it, was currently watching it for the 4th time. Paused at the moment, 23 minutes in, when the question appeared and her face changed. The exact second before she answered. You could see it. The decision happening in real time. Fear and want in 2 years of careful distance collapsing. Then her voice, "Yes." Emma closed a laptop, opened it. The comments section was chaos. 743 comments in 6 hours. Shipper goals. "I'm screaming." Love podcast junkie. The way his face when she said yes. "I can't." Romance reader 42. "This is the most romantic thing I've ever witnessed." Anonymous. "They're going to ruin the podcast dynamic." That one made Emma pause, scroll back, read it again. Anonymous. "Once they date, it'll change everything. The tension was the appeal. Now it'll just be boring couple stuff." She clicked on their profile. Anonymous. No post history. Created today. Probably nothing. But the comment sat in her chest uncomfortable. What if they were right? The podcast worked because of the tension. The unspoken thing underneath every conversation. Will they, won't they, as content. Now they'd answered. They would. They were. What happened to the show? Emma pulled up their analytics. Episode 16, the friend zone debate, was their highest performing ever. 86,000 downloads in 4 days. The live stream had 28,000 views and climbing. People tuned in for the tension. What would they tune in for now? She opened her text thread with Jordan, their last messages from after the kiss. Jordan, still processing, in a good way. Emma, same. Tomorrow? Jordan, can't wait. Emma stared at her phone. Could text him now. Tell him she was spiraling. He'd answer. Probably wasn't sleeping either. Would talk her down from the anxiety spiral with humor and honesty. But that felt like using their old dynamic. Friend Jordan, who helped with anxiety. She was trying to move forward, be different, be girlfriend Emma. She had no idea how to be girlfriend Emma. Her last relationship was David, 2 years ago. Emma had tried so hard to make that work, organized their date nights, scheduled check-ins, created frameworks for communication, made a project out of intimacy. And he'd left anyway. Said she was too much work, too in her head. Emma looked at her bedroom, color-coded everything, frameworks in systems and control. Jordan's studio was chaos, coffee-stained sketches, projects half-finished. Beautiful disorder. What if she couldn't fit into his life? What if he couldn't fit into hers? What if anonymous commenter was right and they'd ruined everything? Emma closed the laptop finally, lay in bed, stared at the ceiling, thought about the kiss, Jordan's hands in her hair, the way he'd smiled after. We're going to be insufferable now, aren't we? Like he wasn't scared, like this was obvious and right and worth whatever came next. Emma wanted that certainty, wanted to stop organizing her feelings into safe categories, wanted to trust that Jordan knowing her completely meant something. Her phone buzzed. Jordan, you awake? Emma smiled despite the anxiety. Can't sleep. Jordan, same, keep replaying everything. Good replay or bad? Good, really good. You? Emma thought about lying, saying fine, maintaining the performance. Terrified, she typed instead, but also good. Jordan, want to talk? She did, so much, but it was 2 a.m. Tomorrow, real date, we'll talk then. Jordan, it's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. How do you know? Because we've been okay for 6 years. This just makes it official. Emma set down her phone, looked at the dark ceiling, let herself believe him. Tomorrow was Friday, their first real date. 6 years too late and right on time. Emma stood outside the restaurant for 5 full minutes before going in. Italian place, mid-level. The kind where first dates happen because it was nice enough to show effort, but not so fancy it implied too much. Jordan had suggested it. She'd agreed too quickly. Now she was staring at her reflection in the dark window, wondering if she dressed wrong. The blue dress suddenly felt too formal. Or not formal enough, she couldn't tell. Her phone buzzed. Jordan, I'm at the bar, nervous as hell. That helped somehow, knowing he was nervous too. Emma pushed through the door, found him immediately. Jordan at the bar in dark jeans and a button-down she'd never seen. He'd made an effort. The thought made her chest warm. He saw her, stood, smiled, the real one. Hi, he said. Hi. They stood 3 feet apart, suddenly awkward. 6 years of easy friendship evaporated by context. This was a date, official, acknowledged. Everything felt different. Should we? Jordan gestured to a table. Yeah. They sat, a candle between them, menus neither open. This is weird, Emma said finally. So weird. We've had dinner 100 times. Never like this. Jordan was playing with his napkin, folding it, unfolding it. Never where I was allowed to look at you the way I've wanted to for 2 years. Emma felt heat in her face. How's that? Like you're the most interesting person in the room. Like I'm lucky to be here. Like I want to memorize everything. That's... Emma didn't have words. Very honest. Trying something new. The waiter appeared, took drink orders, left. Emma finally looked at the menu. We should probably talk about the podcast, she said. Do we have to? Right now? People are commenting, asking what happens to the show. Jordan set down his menu. What do you think happens? I don't know. The whole premise was two friends analyzing relationships from outside. Now we're inside one. So we analyze from inside. Talk about what it's actually like instead of theory. That's vulnerable. That's always been the show, Emma. We were vulnerable from the first episode, just in a different way. The drinks came, wine for Emma, beer for Jordan. She took a sip, stalling. What if it changes everything? She asked quietly. It already has. What if people stop listening? Then they stop listening. But Emma... Jordan reached across the table, took her hand. I don't want to make decisions about us based on podcast analytics. I want us to be real, whatever that means for the show. Emma looked at their hands, his thumb tracing her palm. Same gesture from the live stream, becoming familiar. I'm scared I'll mess this up, she admitted. My last relationship, David said I was too much work, too in my head. I tried so hard to be different and it still wasn't enough. David was an idiot. Jordan. No, listen. He squeezed her hand. You being in your head is part of you. The organizing, the lists, the way you need to process things systematically. That's not something to fix. It's not too much. It's just you. It drove him away. Because he wanted someone easier, someone who didn't challenge him. I don't want easier. I want you. Completely. Lists and all. Emma felt tears threatening. Blinked them back. What if I can't do spontaneous? What if I need too much structure? Then we figure it out. I learn to be on time sometimes. You learn that plans can change. We meet in the middle, like we've been doing for 6 years. This is different. How? Because now if it fails, I lose my best friend. Jordan was quiet. The restaurant noise filled the space. Conversation, laughter, the clink of silverware on plates. You're not going to lose me, he said finally. Worst case, absolute worst case, we try this and it doesn't work. We take time, figure out how to be friends again. But Emma, I've spent 2 years thinking about this. About us. I'm not walking away because it's hard. I'm staying because you're worth it. Emma's phone buzzed. She ignored it. Okay, she whispered. Yeah? Yeah, let's try. Scared and messy and whatever happens. Jordan smiled, lifted his beer. To spontaneous decisions. Emma lifted her wine. To organize chaos. They drank, ordered food, talked. 3 hours disappeared like 30 minutes. When Jordan walked her to her car, he kissed her goodnight. Soft. Sure. Like they had all the time in the world. Maybe they did. 2 weeks passed like edited footage. Emma and Jordan fell into a new rhythm. Still coffee shop meetings, still recording sessions. But now Jordan arrived on time sometimes. Emma let plans change without spiraling. Small adjustments, making room. They recorded episode 17. When friendship becomes more, a case study. Talked honestly about the past 2 years, the moment they each realized how scary it was, how they almost didn't risk it. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. Some negative, people saying they'd ruin the dynamic, but most saying they were rooting for them. Downloads went up instead of down. The podcast was evolving. So were they. Emma's apartment still looked organized, but Jordan's leather jacket hung on her coat rack now. His toothbrush in her bathroom. Small invasions of chaos she'd normally panic about. She didn't panic. Jordan's studio had new additions too. Emma's coffee mug, her planner on the desk, her handwriting on his whiteboard, her influence organizing his beautiful disorder. They fought once, Tuesday, about something small, whether to record Wednesday or Thursday. It escalated. Old patterns. Emma needing structure, Jordan resisting constraint. Then they stopped, looked at each other. "We're doing the thing," Jordan said. "What thing?" "The thing we tell people not to do, letting old fears run new situations." Emma sat down. He was right. "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to feel safe." "I know, and I'm not trying to chaos your life. I'm trying to feel free." They figured out Wednesday recording with a Thursday backup plan. Compromise, novel concept. Sophie's wedding was in 6 weeks. Emma had asked Jordan officially to be her +1. He'd said yes, obviously, like she'd asked him to breathe. Marcus had dinner with them last Friday, interrogated Jordan for an hour about intentions. Jordan had answered everything honestly, including, "I've been in love with her for 2 years, but didn't have the vocabulary for it." Emma had almost dropped her wine glass. Later in her car, "You love me? I thought that was obvious. You never said it." "I'm saying it now." Jordan looked at her. "I love you. Your lists, your anxiety, the way you organize everything into color-coded chaos. All of it." Emma had kissed him instead of answering. Said it back 2 days later, quietly, during editing session. "I love you too." Jordan had saved the project file immediately, wanted proof it happened. Now it was Sunday. Morning light through Jordan's studio windows. They'd stayed over after late recording, fallen asleep on his terrible couch wrapped in blankets that didn't match. Emma woke first, watched him sleep, face peaceful, one arm thrown over his head, the defensive artist pose even unconscious. She pulled out her phone, opened notes, found her new list. Why this might work was up to 68 items. Added number 69. He makes waking up feel like coming home. Jordan stirred, opened eyes, smiled. "Morning." "Morning." "Coffee?" Obviously. They made coffee in his chaotic kitchen, burned toast, didn't care. 6 weeks until Sophie's wedding. 6 weeks of learning how to be them. Not theory, not performance, real. Emma was terrified. Emma was happy. Both could be true. Emma lay awake in Jordan's bed at 3 a.m., watching him sleep. They'd been officially dating for 3 weeks. Good weeks, great weeks. But tonight her brain wouldn't shut off. The wedding was in 4 weeks. She'd have to introduce Jordan as her boyfriend. Not friend, not podcast co-host, boyfriend. The word felt foreign, new, scary. Her phone sat on his nightstand. She could scroll, check the podcast comments, see what people were saying about episode 18, maintaining identity in relationships. She'd argued that people needed separate identities even in partnerships. Jordan had agreed, but pushed back on using separate versus distinct, semantics that mattered. They'd found middle ground. Good episode, honest, real. But lying here in Jordan's bed, their second sleepover this week, Emma felt something pulling. Old fears, familiar patterns. When she dated David, she'd slowly erased herself, became smaller, quieter, tried to fit into his vision of partnership. It hadn't worked. He'd left anyway. With Jordan, it was different. He encouraged her lists, laughed when she color-coded his project files without asking, seemed to genuinely love the parts of her that drove other people away. But what if that changed? What if 6 months from now he realized organized Emma was cute in theory, but exhausting in practice? What if she realized Jordan's chaos wasn't charming, but irresponsible? What if they'd built this relationship on podcast chemistry and it didn't translate to real life? Jordan shifted, pulled her closer in his sleep, arms around her waist, face buried in her hair. Emma froze, then relaxed, let herself be held. This was real life, this moment. 3 a.m., his terrible mattress that needed replacing. his studio that smelled like coffee and paint, the sound of his breathing, even. She thought about her old apartment before Jordan's presence invaded it. Everything in its place, safe, lonely. Now his jacket lived on her coat rack, his shampoo in her shower, his chaos bleeding into her careful order. And instead of feeling invaded, she felt less alone. Emma's phone buzzed. Text from Sophie. Seating chart finalized. You and Jordan are at table 4 with Marcus. Family table. Hope that's okay? Table 4. Family table. Sophie putting Jordan with family. Emma typed back. That's perfect. Then, he's still asleep. I'm awake overthinking. Sophie. About what? What if this doesn't work? What if it does? Everyone keeps saying that. It's not helpful. Because there's no other answer. You can't guarantee outcomes. You can only decide if the risk is worth it. Emma looked at Jordan, sleeping, trusting her enough to be this vulnerable. It's worth it, she typed. Then stop overthinking, start experiencing. Sophie went offline. Emma set down her phone, thought about her therapist, who'd said in their last session, Emma, you spend so much time anticipating failure that you forget to notice success. True. God, so true. Episode 18 was good. Their relationship was good. Jordan made her coffee exactly right without being asked. She organized his invoices and he thanked her. They fought about small things and apologized. Normal. Healthy. Stop anticipating failure. Notice success. Emma pulled Jordan's arm tighter around her, made a decision, chose this moment, this person, this risk. Tomorrow was Monday, recording day. They'd talk about boundaries in relationships, how to maintain self while building partnership. She had thoughts, research, a list of points to make. Jordan would tease her about the list. She'd defend it. He'd agree with her conclusion anyway. They'd banter, create content, be themselves. And after, they'd get dinner. Maybe his place, maybe hers. Didn't matter. They'd figure it out. They always did. Emma closed her eyes. Let sleep come. 4 weeks until the wedding. 4 weeks of continuing to choose this. Every day, every moment. Terrified and happy and real. Emma smoothed her bridesmaid dress for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. The hotel ballroom was full of Sophie's friends and family doing last-minute rehearsal coordination. Chairs being arranged, string quartet tuning, the organized chaos of a wedding the night before it happened. Jordan stood next to her in dark slacks and a white shirt, looking more put together than she'd ever seen him. He'd offered to leave the rehearsal dinner, said he didn't need to be there for family stuff. Sophie had texted back, "You're family now. Be there." So here they were, publicly together, officially, in front of Emma's entire extended family who'd spent years asking when she'd settle down. "You okay?" Jordan whispered. "Fine. You've adjusted your dress 4 times. 3 times. 4. I'm counting." Emma's mom approached, Diane, 56, on husband number 3 and happier than she'd been with 1 or 2. She pulled Emma into a hug that smelled like expensive perfume and white wine. "Sweetie, you look beautiful." She turned to Jordan, extended her hand. "And you must be the famous Jordan. I've been listening to the podcast. You two are adorable." Jordan shook her hand. "Thank you, Mrs. Lawson." "Diane, please. Mrs. Lawson is my ex-mother-in-law." She laughed, grabbed 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter, handed them over. "So, how long has this actually been happening?" "Mom," Emma warned. "What? I'm curious. Sophie says you've been dancing around it for years." 3 weeks officially, Jordan said. 2 years unofficially. 2 years of unresolved sexual tension, Emma's Aunt Carol added, appearing from nowhere. She had a gift for that. "We've been watching. Very entertaining." Emma wanted to sink into the floor. Jordan was grinning, enjoying this. "Carol," Diane said, "don't terrorize them." "I'm not terrorizing. I'm observing. They're very obvious." Carol sipped her martini. Emma, honey, you've never looked at anyone the way you look at him. It's disgusting and adorable. Thank you, Emma managed. Sophie appeared in her rehearsal dress, casual white, saving the real gown for tomorrow. She linked arms with Emma. Okay, family interrogation over. I'm stealing them. We weren't interrogating, Diane protested. You were absolutely interrogating. Sophie pulled Emma and Jordan toward the tables. Table 4. You're with Marcus and his partner. Safe zone. They sat. Marcus and David, his partner, confusing name, were already there. Marcus gave Emma a look that said, "We're talking later." The rehearsal dinner started. Toasts, stories, Sophie's fiancé James telling the proposal story that made everyone cry. Emma watched Sophie glow, genuinely happy, ready. Emma grabbed Jordan's hand under the table. He squeezed back. You good? He murmured. Yeah, just thinking. About? How Sophie's ready, certain. I don't know how people get there. Jordan was quiet. The table around them was loud, laughter, clinking glasses, celebration. Maybe you don't get there, he said finally. Maybe you just decide the person is worth the uncertainty. Emma looked at him. Is that what you did? Yeah, 2 years ago. I decided you were worth being terrified. And now? Still terrified, also sure. He lifted her hand, kissed her knuckles. Public, in front of her family, not hiding. Both can be true. Sophie stood, tapped her glass. The room quieted. I'm not doing a big speech, she said. That's tomorrow, but I want to say something tonight. She looked around the room, found Emma. Em, you've spent the last 2 years telling me about deal breakers, about why relationships fail, about protecting yourself from hurt. Emma felt every eye turn to her. And watching you, Sophie continued, I learned that sometimes the thing you're most scared of is the thing you need most. You were terrified of Jordan, of ruining your friendship, of risking something good for something that might be better. Emma's throat was tight. But you did it anyway, and I'm so proud of you. Sophie raised her glass. To Emma and Jordan, who spent 2 years analyzing love and finally decided to live it instead. The room erupted, glasses raised. Emma felt tears threatening. Jordan's arm went around her shoulders. You okay? I'm going to kill my sister. She's not wrong, though. I know. That's why I'm going to kill her. The dinner continued. Dessert, more toasts, dancing. Emma let herself be pulled onto the floor by her mom, then Carol, then Sophie. Finally Jordan. A slow song, his hands on her waist, hers on his shoulders. Tomorrow, he said, we're going to watch your sister get married, and everyone's going to look at us and wonder when we're next. Terrifying. Yeah, but also kind of nice. Emma rested her head on his shoulder. Let the music and movement carry her. Yeah, she whispered, kind of nice. Tomorrow was the wedding. Tomorrow was everything. The hotel balcony overlooked the city at midnight. Emma found Jordan there after the rehearsal dinner ended. He was leaning on the railing, jacket discarded, tie loose, looking at lights that stretched to the horizon. Hey, she said softly. He turned, smiled. Hey, needed air? Needed you. That's disgustingly romantic. I know, don't tell anyone. Emma joined him at the railing. The city hummed below. Traffic, music from other hotel rooms, the ambient sound of life happening. They stood in comfortable silence. 6 years of friendship meant quiet could be communication. Your family's great, Jordan said finally. They're nosy. They love you. Same thing in this family. Jordan laughed, pulled her closer. She fit against his side like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. Are we moving too fast? Emma asked, the question she'd been avoiding all night. What do you mean? 3 weeks and I'm bringing you to a family wedding, meeting everyone, making it official. You want to slow down? Emma thought about it, really thought. No, but I feel like I should want to. Like there's a timeline I'm supposed to follow. Stages, milestones. Says who? Every relationship article ever written. We've never been conventional. Jordan turned to face her, hands on her waist. We were friends for 6 years before dating. Recorded a podcast about relationship failure while falling for each other. Had our first kiss after admitting feelings to 16,000 people on livestream. Nothing about us follows the timeline. That should scare me more. But it doesn't? It doesn't. Emma touched his face. The gesture still felt new. Permission to touch. That scares me. How not scared I am. Emma, you're allowed to be happy. You know that, right? Intellectually, but not emotionally? She shrugged. I spent 2 years building walls, making lists of why love doesn't work, convincing myself I was better off alone. And then you, she trailed off. Then I what? Then you were exactly what every deal breaker described. Late, chaotic, deflects with humor. Everything I said I didn't want. And? And I want all of it, every messy part. That's terrifying. Jordan pulled her closer, kissed her forehead. You know what's terrifying? Watching you date other people for 6 years, pretending to be supportive while dying inside, drawing you 100 times and hiding every single one because I was too scared to show you. You still haven't shown me. I will, when you're ready. I'm ready. No, you're not. You're still processing that we're real, that this isn't going to disappear. Emma rested her head on his chest, heard his heartbeat, steady. How are you so sure? Because I've had 2 years to be sure. You've had 3 weeks. That's not fair. I know, but I'm not going anywhere. Take your time. Freak out. Make lists. Organize your feelings into color-coded categories. I'll be here. What if I'm difficult? You are difficult. That's part of it. What if I can't be spontaneous enough for you? Then I'll learn to plan sometimes. We'll meet in the middle. Emma pulled back, looked at him, really looked. Jordan at midnight, tie loose, hair messy from her hands, expression open, vulnerable. Sure. I love you, she said, second time saying it, easier than the first. I love you too. Even when I'm overthinking? Especially then. Your brain is my favorite place. That's such a weird thing to say. You love weird. I love you. They kissed, slow, deep, taking their time. The city noise faded, just them, the balcony, the moment. When they pulled apart, Jordan was smiling. Tomorrow Sophie gets married. Tomorrow we watch other people make promises. Does that scare you? Emma considered, tested the feeling. No, it makes me hopeful. Good, hope's good. They stayed on the balcony until the air got cold, went back inside, said goodnight at Emma's room. Jordan kissed her once more, soft, sure. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow. Emma closed the door, leaned against it. Tomorrow was Sophie's wedding. Tomorrow was the future starting. She wasn't scared, not anymore. I need you to be honest with me. Sophie sat on the edge of the hotel bed in her wedding dress. Full hair and makeup, 10 minutes until the ceremony, and suddenly not moving. Emma, already in her bridesmaid dress, felt panic spike. What's wrong? Am I making a mistake? What? No, Sophie, you love James. I know, I do. But what if love isn't enough? Sophie's voice was shaking. What if we get married and in 5 years we're different people? What if we grow apart? What if... Soph, breathe. Sophie breathed. Her hands were trembling. The bouquet shook. Emma sat next to her, careful not to wrinkle either dress. Where is this coming from? I don't know. I was fine, getting ready, laughing, and then suddenly I'm standing here thinking about divorce rates, about mom's 3 marriages, about how you spent 2 years proving that relationships fail. I spent 2 years being scared, Emma corrected gently. That's different. Is it? Emma thought about Jordan. 3 weeks official, 6 years building to this. The terror and certainty mixed together. Soph, you're not making a mistake. You're making a choice. And yeah, it's scary because it matters. Because James matters. What if it's not enough? What if it is? Sophie laughed, wet. That's not helpful. I know, but it's true. Emma took her sister's hands. You can't guarantee the future. No one can. But I've watched you with James for 2 years. He makes you laugh. He calls you on your bullshit. He shows up. Every time, even when it's hard. Like Jordan does for you? Yeah, like Jordan. Sophie wiped her eyes, careful not to smudge makeup. You're different now. With him, more settled, but also more alive somehow. I feel different, less scared maybe, or scared but doing it anyway. How? Emma thought about the question, really considered it. I stopped trying to control the outcome. I just started showing up, every day, choosing him, letting him choose me. That's all we can do. That's terrifying. It is. But Sophie, Emma squeezed her hands. James is downstairs right now, probably freaking out too, probably asking his best man the same questions. And in 10 minutes, you're both going to walk down there and make promises you can't guarantee you'll keep. Because that's what faith is, showing up anyway. Sophie breathed, nodded. Okay. Yeah? Yeah. She stood, smoothed her dress. How do I look? Like someone about to make the scariest, best decision of her life. Perfect. A knock at the door. Their mom. Sophie? Honey? It's time. Sophie grabbed her bouquet, looked at Emma. If I freeze up there, you'll push me forward, right? Absolutely. With love, but firmly. They walked downstairs. The ceremony space was full. 200 people, string quartet playing, James at the altar looking nervous and certain. Emma took her place at the front, caught Jordan's eye in the third row. He smiled, mouthed, "You okay?" She nodded. Was okay. More than okay. The music changed. Everyone stood. Sophie appeared at the entrance with their mom. Emma watched her sister walk down the aisle, each step deliberate, choosing. When Sophie reached James, he took her hands, whispered something that made her laugh. The ceremony was traditional. Vows, rings, promises about forever when forever was impossible to guarantee. But Sophie said, I do, like she meant it. James said, I do, like he was certain. And Emma believed them. Both terrified, both sure, both choosing anyway. After, during photos, Jordan found her. You okay? He asked. You looked intense up there. Sophie had a moment, pre-ceremony panic. Understandable. I told her what you told me, about choosing someone being worth the uncertainty. Jordan pulled her close, ignored the photographer's annoyed look. How'd that go? She got married, so I think it worked. The reception was loud, dancing, toasts. Sophie and James's first dance, where he almost dropped her during the dip, but caught her at the last second. Perfect metaphor. Emma danced with Jordan, with Marcus, with her mom, with Sophie during the sister dance where they both cried. Thank you, Sophie whispered, for earlier. You would have been fine. Maybe, but you made it easier. Later, Emma and Jordan escaped to the hotel bar, quiet, away from the reception noise. That was beautiful, Jordan said. It was. You think you'd ever want that? Emma's heart stopped. What? Marriage, eventually, not now, but someday. She looked at him, Jordan. 3 weeks official, 6 years of history, already half moved into her life and she into his. Ask me again in a year, she said. That's very specific. I like timelines. I know, he kissed her. 1 year, I'll ask again. And I'll answer. What if the answer is no? Then we'll figure it out, together. Jordan smiled. I can work with that. They finished their drinks, went back to the reception. danced until Emma's feet hurt, until Sophie and James left in a car with tin cans and just married signs, until it was just family, wrapping up, going home. Emma and Jordan walked to the hotel elevator. "Your room or mine?" he asked. "Doesn't matter, we'll figure it out." They always did. Emma sat in the hotel room at 2 a.m., still in her bridesmaid dress, watching Jordan sleep on top of the covers. He'd crashed after the reception, exhausted from dancing and family and performing social energy for 8 hours. She'd covered him with a blanket, let him rest. But Emma couldn't sleep. She pulled out her laptop, opened the folder she'd been avoiding, archive projects. The folder Jordan thought was private but had left logged in on her computer 3 weeks ago. 134 drawings, all of her. Emma scrolled through them slowly, each one a timestamp, a moment captured. The oldest was dated 4 years ago. Emma at a coffee shop, profile, laughing at something off frame. The line work was looser, less confident, but the attention to detail was there. The specific curve of her smile, the exact angle of her neck. 4 years. He'd been drawing her for 4 years. Emma kept scrolling, a study of her hands holding a coffee cup, the way her hair fell when she was concentrating, her expression during a podcast recording, focused, analytical, present. Then the more recent ones, from the past year, more detailed, more certain. Emma laughing, Emma frustrated, Emma tired. Every version of her captured in lines and shadow. One made her stop, dated 6 months ago. Emma in his studio during a planning session. But the way he'd drawn her, it wasn't observation, it was longing, the soft pencil work, the attention to light on her face. The way he'd captured her looking at something off frame, probably her notes, but made it look like she was seeing something beautiful. This was how he saw her. Emma scrolled to the most recent, 2 weeks ago, after their first real date. Emma laughing, mid-sentence, joy captured in graphite. The file name, this, just that, this. She closed the laptop, looked at Jordan sleeping. He'd told her he'd been drawing her, but she hadn't understood what that meant. How long, how consistently, how it was his way of processing feelings he couldn't speak. Emma thought about her lists. Why I'm still single. 43 researched reasons. Her way of processing fear into data. Jordan drew. She listed. Both trying to make sense of wanting something terrifying. She thought about their history, really thought, not as podcast co-hosts, as people. 6 years ago, Jordan's birthday party. Emma had just started dating someone. Who? She couldn't even remember the name. But Jordan had been there, laughing, supportive, drawing on napkins. 5 years ago, Emma's promotion. Jordan had taken her to dinner, celebrated like it was his achievement, made a mock award certificate that she'd kept. 4 years ago, the coffee shop, the first drawing. What had changed that day? She tried to remember. They'd been talking about something. A project? Emma couldn't recall, but something had shifted for him. 3 years ago, Emma's birthday, Jordan at her party. She'd been dating David. Almost confessed her feelings to Jordan that night. Almost. Then Jordan had said, "I love our friendship," and she'd deleted the text. Had that been intentional? Had he sensed something and panicked? 2 years ago, David had broken up with her. Jordan had shown up with Thai food, stayed, let her fall asleep on his shoulder. Emma had woken up at 3 a.m., Jordan still awake, watching something on his phone with the sound off. When she'd moved, he'd said softly, "Go back to sleep, I've got you." That's when it started for her, really started, the wanting that she'd buried under lists and fear. 1 year ago, they'd started the podcast, Jordan's idea. Monetize your cynicism. But also, she saw it now, his way of forcing them to talk about relationships. Every episode a conversation about what they were too scared to examine. 3 months ago, Episode 15, Physical Chemistry. The almost kiss moment stopped by microphone cable. The cliffhanger that built until the live stream. 3 weeks ago. The confession. The first real kiss. Everything finally spoken. Emma looked at Jordan sleeping, mouth slightly open, hair messy, completely unglamorous and perfect. She created a new document, titled it, Why This Works. Typed, because he's been choosing me for 4 years, drawing me, seeing me, waiting for me to be ready. Then, because I've been choosing him too, just calling it friendship, hiding it in careful distance. Then, because some things take time, and we took exactly the time we needed. Emma closed the laptop, lay down next to Jordan. He stirred, pulled her close without waking. Outside, the city was quiet, the wedding over, tomorrow coming. Emma closed her eyes, finally slept. Some stories took years to write. This one was worth the wait. The Sunday morning after the wedding was quiet. Emma sat in the hotel restaurant drinking coffee, watching Jordan sleep through the windows above. He texted, 5 more minutes, 45 minutes ago. She'd let him rest. Her phone showed 53 notifications. The podcast had released episode 19 yesterday. Love is Choice, Why Feelings Aren't Enough. They'd recorded it Wednesday, before the wedding, before last night's realization about the drawings. Emma opened the comments. Shipper goals. This episode hits different knowing they're together. Love podcast junkie. The maturity, the growth, I'm crying. Romance reader 42. They went from analyzing love to living it, and I'm here for this journey. Anonymous. Still think the old dynamic was better, but this is okay. One critical comment in 300 positive ones. Emma would have fixated on that 3 months ago. Now she scrolled past. Marcus slid into the booth across from her. Hair messy, coffee in hand. His partner David had apparently gone for a run, because of course he had. Morning, Marcus said. Morning. You look contemplative. I found Jordan's drawings last night. Marcus raised an eyebrow. The secret ones? You knew about them? Everyone knew about them except you. He's not subtle. Emma laughed. 4 years, Marcus. He's been drawing me for 4 years. And you've been listing reasons to stay single that all described him. You're both disasters. We are. But we're trying. Emma wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. Warmth, grounding. I'm trying to not sabotage it, to not create problems that don't exist yet. How's that going? Terrifying and good. Marcus smiled, genuine. You're happy. I am. That's weird, right? That's growth. Sophie appeared in her going-away outfit, casual, glowing. James trailing behind, looking exhausted and content. They were leaving for their honeymoon in 2 hours. There you are, Sophie said, sliding in next to Emma. I wanted to say goodbye properly. You're not dying. You're going to Bali. Still, big moment. Sophie grabbed Emma's hand. Thank you. For yesterday. For the speech. For everything. You would have been fine without me. Maybe, but I didn't have to be. Sophie looked at Marcus. Will you give us a minute? Marcus nodded, took his coffee to the lobby. James followed. Sophie turned to Emma. I saw you on the balcony, after the ceremony, watching Jordan. Okay? You had this expression, like you were seeing the future and it didn't terrify you. Emma felt her throat tighten. Is this going somewhere? Yeah, Sophie squeezed her hand. I'm saying you found it. The thing you've been scared of your whole life. Partnership. Real partnership. And you're not running. I'm still scared. But you're staying. That's the difference. Sophie stood, hugged her. I love you. Be happy. Stop analyzing it to death. That's literally my job. Then do it off the clock. Sophie left. Emma sat alone in the breakfast restaurant, finishing her coffee, watching the city wake up outside the windows. Her phone buzzed. Jordan. Okay, I'm actually awake now. Where are you? Restaurant, take your time. Be down in 5. Emma smiled, ordered him coffee. He'd arrive in 7 minutes, apologize for being late, kiss her good morning, and steal a bite of her toast. She could time it perfectly now, knew his patterns, his chaos, the specific ways he was late and spontaneous, and exactly what she needed. The past 6 years had been preparation, building foundation, learning each other. The next 6 would be living it. Emma wasn't scared, not anymore. Jordan found Emma in his studio Wednesday afternoon, sitting at his desk looking at his tablet. His heart stopped. The tablet, the drawings. Fuck. Emma. 4 years, she said quietly, not looking up. You've been drawing me for 4 years. Jordan stood frozen in the doorway, every instinct screaming to deflect, make a joke, change the subject. Instead, he closed the door behind him, walked over. I was going to show you, he said. When? When I wasn't terrified of what you'd think. Emma finally looked up. Her expression was unreadable. Why? Why was I terrified, or why did I draw you? Both. Jordan sat in the other chair, the one Emma used during recordings. I drew you because I couldn't not. You'd be talking or working or just existing, and I'd see something, a gesture, an expression, and I needed to capture it. For 4 years. For 4 years. Why didn't you tell me? Because it felt too honest, like if you saw them, you'd know everything I was trying not to say. Emma scrolled through the drawings slowly. Jordan watched her face, trying to read her reaction. She stopped on one, the coffee shop study from 4 years ago. This one, she said, this is when it started? That's when I admitted it to myself, that I felt something that wasn't friendship. What happened that day? Jordan tried to remember. You were stressed about a project, some client being difficult. You were venting and I was listening, and you stopped mid-sentence, said, sorry, I'm just complaining. And I said, I never want you to apologize for existing in my space. And you looked at me, really looked, and I knew I was in trouble. Emma was quiet, still scrolling. Are you mad? Jordan asked. Mad that you've been documenting your feelings for me in secret for 4 years? She looked up. No, she paused. I don't know what I am. Creeped out? A little. Also touched. Also confused why you didn't just tell me. Because you were dating other people. Because we were friends. Because I was scared. Of what? Losing you. Ruining what we had. Making you uncomfortable. Jordan ran a hand through his hair. Pick one. All valid. Emma set down the tablet, stood, walked to him, sat on his lap facing him, hands on his shoulders. Jordan's hands went automatically to her waist. I found my old journal last week, she said, from 3 years ago, the night of your birthday party. I wrote, I'm in love with Jordan and it's going to ruin everything. Jordan's breath caught. You wrote that? 5 pages, analyzing it, convincing myself it was temporary, that it would pass. Did it pass? Obviously not. She touched his face. We've both been doing this for years, drawing, writing, processing, too scared to just say it. In our defense, we said it eventually, after a live stream forced our hand. Technically, you said it first, because you pushed. Because I was tired of waiting. Jordan pulled her closer. Emma, I know the drawings are intense. I'll delete them if you want. Don't you dare. No? No, they're... She paused, choosing words. They're how you see me, and I want to know how you see me. Jordan kissed her, soft, deep, taking his time. When they pulled apart, Emma was smiling. Show me your favorite, she said. Favorite drawing? Yeah. Jordan hesitated, then opened the tablet, scrolled to one from 6 months ago. Emma in his studio, light from the window, mid-laugh at something. The joy caught in graphite. This one, he said. You just made a terrible pun. I'd called it terrible. You'd laughed anyway, and for a second you looked completely free. Emma stared at it. I remember this day. Yeah? We were planning episode 12, the friend zone episode. I'd made a joke about being permanently friend zoned by life, and you'd groaned so hard. It was a bad pun. It was excellent. She touched the screen. This is how you see me? That's how you are. When you're not trying to control everything, when you're just you. Emma was quiet. Then, I want to show you something. She pulled out her phone, opened her notes app, found a document, handed it to him. Why I'm Still Single, a comprehensive list, Jordan read. I've heard excerpts on the podcast. Read number 12. He scrolled, found it. I need someone who shows up on time. He looked up. That's me. I'm never on time. Keep reading, all of them. Jordan scrolled through, slowly understanding. Every single item described him, his chaos, his deflection, his spontaneity, everything she'd convinced herself were deal breakers. Emma, I was writing about you, the whole time, making a list of reasons to stay away from the person I wanted most. She took back her phone. We're both idiots. Agreed. But we figured it out eventually. Eventually. Jordan kissed her again. Can I keep drawing you? Only if I can keep listing your deal breakers. Deal. They stayed in the studio, Emma reading through old drawings, Jordan watching her, memorizing this moment, adding it to his catalog of her. Later they'd record an episode, talk about vulnerability, about hiding feelings in plain sight, about the ways people protect themselves from the thing they want most. But right now they just sat, together, finally honest. Some art took years to reveal. This one was worth the wait. 6 months later. Emma sat in the studio, same desk, same microphones, different everything. Jordan across from her, coffee in hand, smiling. They were recording episode 37. When to move in together, a practical guide. Practical because Emma had made a spreadsheet, guide because Jordan had added jokes to every row. So, Emma said into the mic, listeners have been asking about cohabitation, when to do it, how to know you're ready. And we have thoughts, Jordan added, because as of 2 weeks ago, we officially live together. The comments would explode. Emma knew. They'd been teasing the announcement for a month. Let's start with the practical, Emma said, pulling up her notes. Finances, space, lifestyle compatibility. Emma made a spreadsheet. Obviously, I made a spreadsheet. Color-coded. That's not relevant to the episode. It's extremely relevant. Our listeners need to know the level of organization involved. Emma tried not to smile. Failed. This was their dynamic now. Banter that was real. No subtext, no hidden meanings, just them. Moving in together, she continued, requires honest conversation about expectations. Who handles what chores? How you split expenses? Whether you're morning people or night people. Emma's a morning person. I'm a night owl. This has been an adjustment. Jordan leaves coffee cups everywhere. This has been an adjustment. See, honest communication. They recorded for 40 minutes, talked about combining lives, the compromises required, the joy of waking up together, the annoyance of different tidiness standards. When they finished, Emma stopped the recording. Jordan pulled off his headphones, stretched. Good episode, he said. We didn't fight enough. People like when we argue. We can't manufacture conflict just for engagement. That's very mature of you. I'm growing. Jordan stood, walked around the desk, pulled her up, kissed her. Dinner? Let me finish editing first. I'll cook. You'll order takeout and pretend you cooked. I'll order takeout and fully admit I ordered takeout. Even better. Jordan left for their apartment, still weird to say, our apartment, and Emma stayed to edit. She pulled up the waveform, started cleaning audio, cutting breaths, removing false starts. stopped at the 20-minute mark, where Jordan had said, "Waking up next to Emma every morning is the best part of my day, and also sometimes the worst because she's aggressively cheerful before coffee." Emma smiled, left it in. The honesty was the appeal now, not the tension, the realness. Her phone buzzed. Text from Sophie. "Are you coming to Sunday dinner? Mom wants to know." "Yeah, Jordan too?" "Obviously, he's family now." Family. Emma looked at the studio, the space where they'd built this. 6 months of podcast episodes dissecting why relationships fail. Then 24 months of analyzing relationships while failing to examine their own. Then 6 months of living it publicly. 43,000 followers now. Comments on every episode. People listening to them figure it out in real time. Last month, a listener had written, "Thank you for being honest about the hard parts, for not making it look easy, for showing that relationships are work and worth it." Emma had printed that comment, put it on their fridge, in their apartment, with his chaotic art supplies and her organized systems living side by side. Her phone rang. Marcus. "Hey," she answered. "Have you checked your email?" "Not in the past hour, why?" "Check now. I'll wait." Emma pulled up email on her laptop, scrolled, stopped. "Holy shit," she breathed. "Right?" Marcus sounded excited. "That's huge." The email was from a publisher. They wanted to turn the podcast into a book. From Dealbreakers to Forever, a modern love story. Deal outlined, advance mentioned, real numbers. "Marcus, this is incredible. Say yes." "Obviously say yes." "I need to talk to Jordan." "Obviously, but Emma, this is what you two have been building. Your story, your honesty. It matters to people." After hanging up, Emma sat in the empty studio, looked at the microphones, the soundproofing, the space where they'd been vulnerable for 2 years. A book, their story, the whole journey from friends to more. The livestream confession, the drawings, the lists, everything. Emma pulled out her phone, opened notes. The list she'd started at Sophie's wedding was still there. Why this works. Now at 217 items. She added number 218. Because we documented the journey and it became something bigger than us. Jordan appeared in the doorway. "Emma, you coming home?" Home. His studio had been home once. Now home was different. Their apartment, their space, their life. "I'm coming." She saved the project file, stood. "We got a book offer." Jordan blinked. "What?" "A publisher wants to turn the podcast into a book. Our story, the whole thing." "That's..." "I know. Do we say yes?" Emma thought about it. 2 years of being vulnerable, of dissecting their relationship publicly, of letting 50,000 people watch them figure it out. "Yeah," she said. "We say yes. We tell the story, all of it." Jordan kissed her. From Dealbreakers to Forever. Cheesy. You love cheesy. I love you. Same thing. They walked home, past the coffee shop where they'd had 100 meetings, past the restaurant from their first real date, past all the places that had become theirs over 6 years. Emma held his hand, matched his pace, let chaos and order walk side by side. Some stories took 6 years to write. Some stories were worth every moment. This one was both. And it wasn't over yet.